Like maybe one day you're on Rogan.
For.
This is prep. This is
So I
pretty
remember
much prep.
Mark emailed Rogan to try and get on there once, like back in like when Ikonick was like booming. I was like, dude, why would he have us on? It was just, I was like thinking of like it was like the most irrational email he's ever sent.
Was he like trying to get his attention? Like, hey, Rogan, like really, Jeff and I have this great story.
No, it was like, he's like, I want to try and get on Rogan. I'll like submit. I'm like, dude, how would that even make sense?
Right.
It's like you get astrophysicists and then like movie stars and then just like two random fucking
artist, business entrepreneur guys.
Yeah, who slang art on social media.
Right. Well, I guess in the context of if you were going on Rogan, where would you start?
Well, I would have to go on without Mark for sure.
So, okay, that was something I texted Mark before. I was like, hey, man, I'm doing a podcast with Jeff. And it's not because I don't want both of you on. I just want to hear Jeff talk because I feel like Mark might overpower Jeff. Or it's hard interviewing two people at the same time sometimes.
Yeah, but we're also polar opposites. Like you'll get a lot of like business strategy. But like if I'm going on with like a Rogan where like we can geek out about sci-fi for 4 hours, like Mark wants no part of that. Like zero.
Right.
I don't like. I think he's seen like one sci-fi movie in his whole life, and I forced him to.
Have you caught up on Dune at all?
Oh, I mean, like the movie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then have you read any of the books?
No, I don't read. I can't read.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Spoken like a true artist.
They actually just started Dune 2 filming.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
So I just picked up and started reading all the books, and coolest series of all time.
I mean,
it's gonna beat out Star Wars in my opinion.
Artistically, like the costume design, and just like that whole world just looks so clean, and like from like an artist's perspective, like you really gotta fucking give it to them. And they casted obviously like two fashion models. It was the perfect casting with Timothy and Zendaya, like the only two people that could probably have pulled like that job off.
Yeah. But it's gonna get crazy, Dune 2.
Yeah, I heard everyone's like I was kind of disappointed about how it ended, but like I knew that it was because there was 2 and 3. There's the other chapters, so like I didn't care. It was like,
is there multiple movies? Do you know besides 2?
There's 2 more, I think. Don't quote me on this, but I think there's definitely one, obviously right now in development. But I think they already announced there was 2 more they were filming, like when they were starting the first one.
Okay, I'm on book 3 of 6 right now.
Yeah, so they're going for the whole fucking...
the first book is such a good like story in itself that in the second book, I'm not going to say much, but it just takes like a total 90-degree left turn.
If you're a fan of, I don't know if you know, if you're a fan of like Timothy Chalamet, whatever the fuck his last name is,
Chalamet.
Yeah. That role, I think he obviously got that role from his performance in King.
Yes,
The King.
Yeah. Okay.
Which was fucking insane.
I gotta
he
see
plays
that.
King Henry.
Okay.
And dude, he crushes that movie, and that's the only, I love it because like you like Dune, the whole allure is like you get like this like medieval times, but like a sci-fi version.
Mm-hmm.
And like literally he was the king and like King Henry. So I'm like, oh, that's so perfect. Cause like it was probably the best casting.
Did you pick up on kind of the theme of the whole of what's this? It's not sand. It's the spice.
Yeah, the spice.
And the prescience and everything that comes with that.
No. So Dune isn't the one movie I didn't go deep in, obviously because I didn't read the books. So I kind of felt like a fraud.
That's okay.
But now after this, I'm probably going to just do deeper research. Usually when I see a movie, I'll do deeper research, but I didn't know too much about Dune's backstory, the themes. So I like didn't do much on that film.
Yeah, it'll tell more, I think, hopefully in the second book, but it has the author wrote it back, Frank Herbie wrote back in like the 50s, and he wrote it based on what it actually feels like to like have the come up story of a true leader and the problems and the things that happen with the leader. And he writes it in the sci-fi world and blah, blah, blah. And
I love the fact in Dune where like the sun, it's like, yes, like you obviously have a choice whether or not you want to be king or not, but like there's some part of when you're in that bloodline, you have no choice. And like all those intricacies of like making those decisions in your head, like, oh fuck, like I'm royalty, I really don't want to do this, but like I have a duty to my name, and like those cool things. Like I loved his character development with what's his name, Oscar. I forgot his dad's the actor, Oscar something.
Yeah,
Oscar Wilde. I forgot his name.
Oscar Wilde. I think that guy's a poet. No. I don't know. Don't quote me on it.
But he's great in Moon Knight as well. Okay. I love him. He's a great actor.
So speaking of duties, do you think that your duty on this earth is to just be a badass artist who's making like art in terms of
funny you asked that question. So I just watched again Jim Carrey's acceptance speech when he spoke at I forgot what school, maybe it was USC.
I always get hit on my YouTube to watch that video.
Yeah, but he puts it so great as his duty was to alleviate people from anxiety and to give people this escapism from the things that are going on in their lives. And I'm like, okay, like I really like that. And I'm trying to, right now I'm feeding themes into Sneaks of Nature.
Happy day 174, by the way.
174. That's good. But yeah, I'm trying to creep into themes like Jim Carrey's speaking on, and how I want to kind of leave a legacy in that story. And I'm coming to some really good stuff. But yeah, I'm definitely going deeper into figuring out how I want to be fulfilled in the project, and how I want to get what I want out of it. Because like, yes, I've been working on it for like 7 months, and it's not like, it's really hard. Like, this is the most difficult thing I've ever done in my life. So it's not fun. It's fun because it's creative, but like I also have to find out my inspiration for doing it every day. And I'm doing that through trying to put in these themes to teach people and to give them an experience where they can walk away and change their life. Right. So like, those are the things I'm trying to weave into the story right now.
That's cool.
So yeah, that's just where I'm at mentally. I'm like really trying to figure it out.
That's cool.
And I'm not saying I'm like not fulfilled by the project, because I completely am, but like, this is a huge risk. I mean, when you're spending 7 months on something with no return yet, we haven't, like, all we're doing is spending money, spending my time. Like it's draining everything.
Valuable assets.
It's insane. Like, if you think about it, like, time is money, and I'm spending all my time on this. We're not making any money from this at all. We're investing into it. So it's a little scary in the sense that it's like just my creativity kind of hoping it pays off.
Right.
And that's been a really interesting thing I'm dealing with right now, just like mentally, just because Ikonick is different. You can create a piece, test it out. If it does well, you can kind of triple down on it. And if it doesn't, you can take that as a case study and create something else in a different pocket. And you can keep testing. But here it's a little different. So it's
because it's a story.
The stakes are high.
If you put something out and it flops, well, you have to find a new way to build on top of what you just did.
So it feels good, but it also is like, it's something I've never experienced before.
Well, that's awesome. And I think just to kind of contextualize for the listeners here, you come from an art background, started art.
Yeah, we jumped in way too fast there.
Well, no, we don't have to we can go wherever we want, dude.
Sorry, Mark.
Yeah, if you hear things in the background, Mark is becoming a TikTok influencer.
Mark's balls dropped today, so now he thinks he can scream and run around the house.
Anyways, go follow Ikonick on TikTok. Yeah. So, picked up being an artist probably by around the same time you stopped peeing the bed. I would say around 4 or 5, maybe 6. Is that accurate?
Yep.
Okay. And then, about peeing the bed, you stopped around 4 or 5 or earlier, you think?
It's probably the same.
Yeah. It all
probably the same day.
I became an artist when I stopped peeing the bed.
Yeah.
Perfect. But I think you grew up obviously loving Jordan, grew up in Chicago. What suburb by chance?
So northwest suburbs of Chicago.
Which suburb specifically?
Buffalo Grove.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I just know there's like one really long train track out of Chicago, and there's like every stop is a different
suburb. Yeah.
But anyways, going from there, you hit college, you drop out of college, or something happens there.
Yeah.
Which I don't know too much about. I've read all your origin stories, so nice, I have like a good context of all of it.
Yeah. I won't go too much into that. But like, just because like it's over now, and of course, I just don't like looking back on it. It's like there was a resolution in that origin story, and we don't just like to keep going in the future. But that defined me, and that made. Obviously, everything you see is because of what a lot of the crap I went through in college, and some family stuff.
Yeah, and then you end up taking a job in San Diego, moving away from home, and then eventually you started Ikonick with Mark. You ran into him. What was it that you guys were doing again? It was like
Melon. I was the product designer for Melon, and
the hat, like hat and sportswear.
They're huge now.
Yeah,
absolutely fucking crushing it.
No way.
They're everywhere.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I was their graphic designer. I moved. Actually, I was freelancing for them in Chicago for like 3 years, 3 or 4 years, and on the 5th year, I moved out there to be their full-time product designer, graphic designer. Pretty much everything, all the almost like an art director.
Yeah.
And did that for about a year. Yeah, about a year, and that's when we started Ikonick. Like right at the end of the first year, I moved to California.
Moved to California, San Diego specifically, like Carlsbad area, right?
Carlsbad.
Got it. And then how did you meet Mark?
Met Mark through a girl that went to Arizona. Mark's a chatter. He talks a lot, and some randomly expressed he needed an artist for a company he had called Cage Hero at the time. I was freelancing random odd graphic design jobs on Craigslist. I was around 21 at the time, and
this is before Fiverr and Upwork. You're just hustling.
Yeah. This is when Craigslist wasn't creepy, and this is where actually people got a lot of their freelance.
It wasn't misconnections. It was.
And I got so many jobs off Craigslist. Oh my god. And I got a lot of like art director. I got a lot of actually real good jobs off Craigslist back in the day. That was like, obviously I had a pretty good portfolio for a graphic artist at the time. But yeah, Mark.
That's pretty much how you met Mark, basically.
Yeah, so she referenced my name. We went to college together, and he called me and he's like, "Hey, I need a graphic designer for this company that I have," and did that for a couple of years, and then he got introduced to the Melon guys, and obviously Mark introduced them to me. So, and that's kind of how it all started.
Got it. And then obviously the culmination of Ikonick, crossing over motivational quotes with originally it was memes and some other sort of cultural stuff.
Yeah, I remember like it was yesterday. We were sitting in Carlsbad. I was at the kitchen table. Mark was on the couch, and was looking up at this Jordan canvas I had brought from Chicago that I printed. Originally, I just wanted to print artwork on canvases for my apartment to decorate it, strictly just to decorate it.
Yeah.
Because we had a lot of people over all the time. And I'm like, okay, let's spice this place up. It's a little bleak in here. We're, just out of college or in and out of college, like just graduating. And so I put all of my artwork up. I created stuff, specifically for the walls, which was a bunch of like Jordan stuff. Obviously, living in Chicago, that was everyone adores Jordan, obviously. So
of course,
brought it to Carlsbad. We're looking at it. We're like, well, let's just have you create more art, and we'll post it on Instagram and see what happens. And the first day we started, we sold 12 paintings in the first hour, and that's kind of when we knew, hey, this might actually work, because we didn't put much in, obviously, time and thought into just getting that test pieces out. Like those, let's just throw something up there and see what happens.
Right.
And once I did, we're like, all right, wow, like what happens if we spend a couple more hours on this and start thinking, hey, like, and start optimizing.
Yeah.
And we made around, I think, 8 to 10 grand on Black Friday. It was like around Black Friday when we started this. Maybe it was like a couple months before, but
right.
And that to us was a lot of money. I mean, we were getting paid nothing, like, and I couldn't do freelance because, out of the contract I signed, and so we weren't making a lot of money at all. So this was a lot of money to us, and then things really picked up when we got on when we started doing Facebook ads.
Yeah, and just started doing basically entering the e-commerce space.
Yeah, because I can then start manipulating. I can really create anything I want, throw some money behind it, and see what happens.
Goes right back to the testing, we talked earlier. Yeah. And it's so funny. I remember in like 2018 was when Gary Vee was like screaming about Facebook ads. Was it even before then when you started doing that? Or was it more?
Yeah, we started Facebook in March 2017.
Yeah, so it was still just completely rocking at that point in time.
I mean, yeah, we were not even the first. I mean, if you came in 2015, 16, that's when
cheap.
Yeah, you can get cheap traffic.
And now it's just the most expensive thing ever.
Yeah, now it just doesn't work. Now it's completely broken.
Right.
Like it's just crazy how the times change, attention.
Right. But I think what's cool about kind of, and then I guess the next step that kind of contextualizes what Sneaks of Nature is hey, Web3, what's up? Is that kind of comes into play. And I know you guys kind of rolled out like a Ikonick NFT with your canvas with the butterfly and the elephant, and I think that was kind of like your first like glimpse of it in 2021. And then you kind of went dark and then came back around this year with Meta Relics.
Yeah, we wanted to dip our toe in. Obviously, I didn't actually create that one. Or I created, obviously, the piece.
The canvas,
But we worked with a studio and helped us with that. So I kind of directed how I wanted it to look and everything. And that was a way to kind of dip our toe in. And that's when the market was super unstable and new, and no one really knew what was going on.
Yeah.
That was the most confusing 6 months of our lives, man. It was so strange.
That was the exact same time that we met, basically.
Yeah.
That was around the
maybe a little
the
after.
infamous RV
after.
shoot. A little after, actually. Yeah. You're right. But right around that time frame.
Yeah, weird time.
Yeah.
Super weird time.
But it's funny to think, because I guess my Web3 evolution, or like how I got introduced to it, was literally through Meta Relics and what you guys have created these past 6 months or 7, more than that, 8 or 9 months now, pretty much, maybe even further.
8 months.
8 months. And it wasn't until I started getting involved, like physically joining the Discord, buying my Relics pass. There goes Mark. Going through the entire process of like what a user would do.
It sucks, doesn't
it? You don't understand any of it until you actually get into it.
And so is a little Decky here, but
hey, thanks.
It is super. That's why I'm like, that's probably the most frustrating part of the space, is like knowing that we're on the front cutting edge of it, and it's even hard for us, especially in the beginning. Like it was scary.
Yeah, you had no idea what was going on.
Yeah, that's what you get with decentralized assets, or decentralized world, is everything goes.
Yeah,
you guys asked for it. This is what you're gonna get.
It's totally shoot from the hip, like Wild West cowboy.
Sword. Yeah. It's like, okay, you want it to be like Westworld. Like, do you know what comes with that?
Yeah,
like, a lot of shit.
Exactly, totally. Well, no, it's funny. I just remember like myself like trying to go to bed one night wondering if me buying a $600 Relics pass, at the time it was like 0.2 ETH or I forget how much you sold the initial mint for, or the initial mint was 0.2, and in ETH at the time it was like $600. I was like, I have no idea what I'm getting into, but like I'm just gonna put in.
It was way more than $600.
At that time it was like 600.
No.
Yeah,
bro.
0.2 of 3,000 is 600, isn't it?
Oh, you mean, I thought you meant 1 ETH was 600.
No.
I was like,
0.2 of what ETH was at the time, which was about 3,000, was $600.
It was like $500 and $600.
I got, just got a wallet, just got my MetaMask,
that
had money
sucks.
rolled into Ethereum and Bitcoin. It's going whatever. And then I'm just like shaking as I like hit, mint. But in hindsight, obviously, phenomenal investment, like being able to be a part of the community and learn and everything. But to think of that as like the barrier of entry, as like my journey just to get to that point and start learning what the space is about, is where I relate heavily to the people who just see it as like Bored Apes or scrolling Twitter and just seeing like random stuff.
Fortunately, that won't ever be the case. So like what we went through, our onboarding process, that is going to be ancient to like how people get onboarded 100%. In the next 6 months.
Right.
To, you know, like, well, actually 6 months, it might still be the same. But like my theory is around 18 months is when this is going to start getting adopted to the masses in terms of the usability and the onboard. Like the onboarding this will never get mainstream if it's how you and me got onboarded a year ago. Yeah. So like once I see that normalizing, that's when it's like, I'm like, okay, it's happening. Right. But right now it's kind of like we're just making mistakes, building, creating. It's a very weird time. It's like we're kind of fundamentally changing history right now. Like I feel like I'm another thing actually what makes me, I mean, I don't want to say bullish. I hate that word. But one thing that makes me like
thank you for saying that.
Like inspired to create the story and to continue this every day is knowing that I could be building a story on a platform that really no one knows about yet. Like this could be the first of something. I don't know what it is. Right. But I feel that like this could be the first of something just because I'm building it and integrating the story in this manner where it's like a chronological fictional memoir of my life, but it's also like an interactive experience and it's kind of like a movie, but you're in the movie, but it's fictional and you're like playing a part and we're all kind of acting.
Yeah, it's your version of Dune.
Sort of, but like it's different. Like, okay, do you watch The Office?
Yeah, I know you're obsessed with The Office.
Yeah. Well, they have this one scene where they're playing this game, like the company's about to go basically out of business, Dunder Mifflin. Yeah. And they're playing this fictional game together. I forgot what the game is called. But it's like they all have a character they have to play and act and they have to find out who the murderer is. And it's you know, it's a fictional game and they have to, and Jim, who they actually were co what do you call it? I guess co-managers at the time. And Jim was like, this is so stupid. Like we're going out of business. Why are we focusing on this? And then Michael, it was this really like real part of the show, which rarely happens. And he lays into Jim. He's like, dude, like they need this right now. Like they need this escape. Yeah. Like, and that's kind of like what I want to create some sort of fictional escapism. But also feels kind of like a amusement park ride at like a movie or like a movie amusement park ride. Right. No, I get you. Like I'm trying a little bit of that, like a new media. So it's exciting because it's like there's no rules, there's no one's done it before. So I'm kind of just figuring it out and putting all the things I've experienced and I liked about interactive like I love roller coasters. Like going like as a kid going to like Six Flags to like the Batman ride and feeling like I'm on the set. Yeah. And like I'm like interacting into the story. Like those are the things I'm trying to bring into the sneaks that all just come from my childhood. That's amazing. That's so cool you said that. And like I think the coolest part is like it's the reflection of that journey that we've kind of touched on. All these different sneaks, which are, you know, obviously based on a famous sneaker. For each character, but each character also has an origin story that's directly tied to your life. And you should see so I'll show you after this, but the trailers for the next 3 or 4 trailers are all based on a character. Yeah. And then also based on a scene in a movie that inspired me growing up. So it's like you get, but that scene directly is like relates to the story and then also the origin story. So it's like, I'm trying to connect as many dots as possible. And like, to me, I obviously loved Ready Player One. I'm a huge person of celebrating I'm a fandom type of guy. Like I still have a bunch of stuff I loved growing up as a kid in my room and like collecting that kind of stuff. So I'm trying to also incorporate incorporate that into sneaks, whether it's films I love, directors, scenes. Like scenes are really important to me. Certain scenes in a movie that just like change you. Like, dude, like I'm just literally just trying to incorporate the stuff that inspires me to then, and hope inspires you to then, do what you love. But yeah, there's a lot of themes I'm working on right now, and it has a lot to do with being yourself and like living your truth. And kind of one way for me to do that is, whenever I think of myself as a kid, and usually when you think of yourself as a kid, it's like the purest form of yourself. Mm-hmm. So those are the things I'm trying to bring you back to when you were a kid, to kind of recognize the things that you love doing, mm-hmm. to maybe inspire a change, or to pursue something that you kind of held off on or forgot about. Right. Just being a kid. So I'm taking a lot of themes from like, there's Peter Pan. I'm bringing themes about. Inspires an origin journal. So it's a ton of different stuff like that.
Yeah, like there were two in particular that I really loved. I loved the Don't Cry Over Spilled Milk with Chuck, and then the Don't Lose Your Dinosaur with what's the name of that?
Bree. Yeah,
Bree.
Bree's gonna be a nice trailer coming in.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we don't need to necessarily dive into. Do you want to dive into the origin stories behind some of these characters, or would you rather have the trailers do that?
Yeah, I'll have the trailers do that. I mean, the trailers are going to open up a whole different side of the origin journals, which is going to be way more visual and like cinematic. Mm-hmm. The ones that I have written those are just personal story, like very personal stories that I think are important to show people that it's okay to be vulnerable, and it's okay to kind of like, talk about the things that were like really dark, and then also talk about the things that you've learned, and talk about the good things in life. So totally, I just think we're losing a lot of that like freedom to just talk about the truth of who you are, and like people are 2022 people are not saying what they really want to say.
They're scared.
They're so scared. People are probably the most scared we've ever been in history. That's not true, but like, you know what I mean.
Yes, I do know what you mean.
We're scared to publicly state our opinions. And that will then start to manipulate who we are.
Right. And I think a lot of that has to do with just how everybody is very well aware of how things catch fire. And if you don't want to be the person who says something that catches fire in the wrong direction for really no intention at all,
it's just like this whole, the pandemic, the election, and you're either left or right. Like, I'm just so confused because like we're 8 billion people. Like, there should be 8 billion different points of view in this world, and I'm trying to express my personal point of view through art form, and I really want people to kind of just dig deep into themselves and ask themselves, like, how well do you know yourself? How well are you actually living that?
Well, and I think that's why it's cool. Like, each of the characters have like that kind of quote that ties each one. Like Chuck being a cow, that's Don't Cry Over Spilled Milk. If some shit really goes bad in your life, i.e., what happened with your college and everything like that, like someone else can relate to that story, and tie themselves to that character. Yeah. And I think that's just really cool that you've done that with, I don't know how many sneaks are there total?
23 right now.
23. So, well, that makes sense. It makes that gives people the relatability aspect that I think makes the project so interesting. And another thing that I love, just kind of from the your journey so far, is like, you're a true artist who found a lot of success through, the original, the Web 2 space of Instagram. I know Instagram's having a little bit of controversial updates and everything that would kind of hinder the just still frame pictures. An identity crisis, sure. They're trying to be TikTok. But it's
they're
cool
not living their truth.
They're not living their truth. There you go. Listen up, Instagram. Yeah. But I think it's cool that you have 900,000 followers on Instagram. I would say the majority of that 800,000, maybe 900,000 after this podcast. But nonetheless, the it's cool to see that you grew a following through your art of the things that you wanted to do through Ikonick, etc. Then Web3 comes along. The first, I would say, what we're in right now, this first Web3 boom has basically been based entirely around still frame images and art and NFTs. I know, people joke about screenshotting your NFT and stuff, and the people who know the true space of NFTs know that like, an NFT is going to be a transaction.
Yeah, it lives on the blockchain.
It lives on the blockchain. But
Gary put out a great video. He's like, you realize like they're talking about the internet when we're talking about the blockchain, and it's like we're talking about two different things.
Yeah,
and that really connected. That connects. It's just like the cover. What NFTs are? They're just like the cover photo to a bank, the cover photo to anything that's under them. Yeah, which is insane amounts of technology and creativity. I mean, that's also this space is insane because I'm a true artist, and the art does not inspire me. Art does not inspire me at all. Like I get inspired by this technology and the ability to creatively think of an idea, work with my team of developers, and then them be like, we can code that, and then that lives on forever. Like that coding, like that access, like whatever I assign to that piece of that NFT, like
is public domain.
It's also just like locked and like in perpetuity.
Correct.
Like that will never change. Like, so that's really exciting. It's like, I like to think about it as like, digital DNA. You can really craft it and say like, hey, I want this to work like this. Mm-hmm. And there's no level of simplicity to it. Or I'm sorry. It's just, you can layer on so many different things to it.
Right.
And there's no cap to it. I guess what I'm saying. Like
exactly.
You can just keep like, okay, I want this to do this. And then you don't stop there. You can layer on 20 things that you want that to do.
Right. For example, a simple example would be like, hey, if you purchase this Relics Pass, all of a sudden, if you connect your wallet to something we send you, we can, we'll have your address to send you truff sauce. And it's like, oh, perfect. Dude, I never knew that was even a possibility.
There's so many applications.
There's a billion things you can do with it.
There's so many applications of it that it's like, it kind of like hurts your brain.
But that's the thrill of it. And one thing that I also love on top of it, you guys did a Twitter Spaces with Chris Canatino with Pop, Crypto Packaged Goods, and those whole guys. And one thing that he said on that specific call the specific conversation between you and him was, he said, the space is so young. The people who are really going to have success are the ones who first and foremost try, but the ones who focus on the building aspect. And this, this digital DNA that you're talking about is crafted with each artist, not only as like with the artwork, but with the back end of like what you can do on the blockchain. And so I just immediately started learning how to code in Solidity and just like learn what it would take me to build my own code on the back end to see if I can do it. And it's fascinating.
It is. Yeah. If that's your wheelhouse, like this is for you. But like, yeah, I'm getting it's helping me as a creative thinking I mean, this for me is the first time I'm truly innovating. I feel like
that's one thing to say to mention is like Ikonick was, there's other people that have their hands in the pot as to like what the piece of art is going to say, what the picture it is and everything like that. Sneaks is full creative freedom for the first time.
Like it's one thing to just thinking of idea, putting on a canvas and selling it. That's not innovation to me. Like, but I really feel like I'm innovating just because like we actually like every day my developer is coming to me and like with an example that he can customize. So it's like, okay, there's this part of the journey that I can fully customize. And I'm like, whoa. Because like it's crazy. If you think about, I can't say it on here, but like if you think about what that is, I'm like, okay, I can put that in the story.
Right.
So you're taking these things that he's noticing and that he can customize through user experience, and I'm putting it into the story to where, obviously it makes sense, but you're now in the story as well. Mm-hmm. So those are the exciting things that we're doing on the daily right now. That's really, really exciting. Like I joke with the guys right now. It's like I haven't. This is the longest I've gone without really creating stuff, because I've been pumping out stuff for years and years every day. But like right now, it's a lot of creative writing and thinking and conceptual development and. But it's in a different format. It's I'm not thinking about it to sell canvases. I'm not thinking about it to increase our conversion rate.
No,
it's pure. It's honestly just pure creation of something that I can't Google right now. Like I can't look up, okay, how do I increase my conversion rate? How do I do this? Like
how do I tell my own story?
Yeah, it's like how. Yeah, exactly. It's like how do I tell my own story, but using the blockchain, which is being created right now,
which learning new capabilities every day.
So it's like that's really fun.
That's amazing. What's it been like? Sorry, like looking back on your journey so far, basically consistently every day to mold the story, like this with this storytelling practice.
It feels natural. Well, when I lived in LA. My big thing was when people asked me, like, so this was like 5 years ago, like, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I hate that question, by the way.
Yeah, but I would always say filmmaking and movies. Like, I love movies. I love filmmaking just because I've recognized that I'm one that wants to push my aesthetic intelligence. Like, to me, I think I have the capability to really be one of the smartest creatives. Like that's my goal. I want to be one of the smartest creatives to ever live. So like what are the ways to get there? And filmmaking to me is the next step is if you knew how much goes into that shit, like, and how much you can pour into that, the data points of like how the creativity, if I did like a scoreboard of like the levels of creativity that goes into a certain medium, like movies and like directing and writing,
right,
and even like producing, and then just every process that goes into filmmaking. And then like I think that's it. Like for me, like I think I got past 2D images, 4D, we kind of been doing it for a little bit. So I'm like, what's the next thing I could do to really flex my creative muscle? And it's for me it's getting better.
Right.
I'm like, okay, I'm going to start thinking of the most creative, complex themes and pieces to the puzzle and see how well I can tie them all together while also entertaining you, changing your life, creating emotional. So I'm like, if I put everything on the table, I want to use all these parts somehow.
Right. You have all these Lego bricks. You're just trying to figure out what you want to actually build.
You're just limited in like 2D art, and you're limited. I think I pushed it as much as I could in terms of fulfillment and ambition, like thinking of quotes that emotionally move someone to then purchase something. I think I've done, and then I've done it with a lot of other things, but like I want to see what was next for how I can push myself intellectually.
Well, that's did you have a period of time where you started to realize that like you were ready to move out of 2D? Like, did you was there something in your head that was like, all right, I'm not as curious as I was before.
It just came natural. Like Web3 just came a lot.
It did kind of roll itself out.
And then, I just think like life works out that way, man, where it's just like, it's those cues you have to look for. Like, and my answer is no, I didn't. I mean, it just kind of came. And then when you look back on it, you're like, this came at the right time for me. Like,
it always does.
Yeah, and I think if you're working hard and you truly want to get better every day, like that will be the progression of your life. It'll just find it. But if you're full of shit and you really have the wrong intent, and you'll get those type of results. Right. So if you're going into it, really trying to better yourself and being genuine, and you believe in karma, and I don't think you have to be ambitious, but I think you have to be, you definitely have to be curious. I think being curious is a fundamental thing we should all have. Right. As human beings. I think all human beings, I think it's in our nature, I think, to be curious. And I think if you deny yourself of that trait, I just find that very strange. You won't enjoy life as much if you're not curious about life. Right. If you're not curious about your own existence, I think that's you're solely missing the point of life.
Yeah, that's right. Because there's so many, when you're curious, you start to realize all these different opportunities or different things you can latch onto. And I think one thing that kind of combats with that sometimes is like the anxiety of like when you're building something and it's not like that moment hasn't come yet. And it's just cool that like the curiosity portion of it puts you at ease. It's like, okay, I'm just, not going to worry about like the next plot line of the story. I'm just going to continue to like live my life, work. And then all of a sudden that curious mind picks up on the cue. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
We've had to deal with like a lot of that. Like I'm the number one advocate of, if you work hard, like you will get the results you're looking for. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't mean bullshit. Like it doesn't mean you think you're working hard. Like if you know in your heart you're working hard.
Right.
And you're going that extra mile every day and not just one day. Right. If you're consistently doing that over and over again, right, and over again and over again, and then times 100, like not just a couple of days or a month or a year, right, like continuously, I think you deserve those results. And I went through a year or two in different patches where that wasn't the case. So like that fucked me up a little bit. I'm like, okay, well now I have to kind of look back and be like, what happened there? Working my ass off for a long period of time. What happened? And so you start to assess those type of things. And I think there's no choice for me, or I think anyone, just like wake up and just try and regain that enthusiasm and just keep going, keep kind of right, knocking down, those barriers. Cause you never know when you're at that last barrier. And so there's a great piece I have made. That's probably the most underrated piece for me, at least. It's this piece of this Roman worker, and he's knocking. You see a bunch of these pillars he's knocked down, and at the end of all of them is this treasure of gold, and he's knocked down all of these, and there's one more, and he quit. You can't see what's on the other side, so it's right, like for me, I always remember that piece. And I'm like, you never know when that next day you get that break. The next day, like
right, and then all of a sudden it's all worth it.
Yeah,
like it's so easy to see at that point.
The next getting up for that next day, to continue that, even for how much failure you've had, and then knowing the next day could be that day. Mm-hmm. That's another reason I love some of the iconic pieces. It's like I really I worked my ass off to try and hammer home a metaphor for people where they can gain that confidence to do those types of things, mm-hmm, or to wake up and actually continue on that goal they're doing. Like, so I'm like, how could I hammer this home visually to then create that perfect metaphor for you to accomplish the things that you thought were impossible? Like that for me was the magic of Ikonick, and still is. But I've created so many goddamn pieces that you're constantly finding ways to reinvent that.
Yeah, that's interesting.
But some of those pieces, for me, like I can like give you like I want to do an Ikonick Awards, Brandon. We should probably do that where we rank the pieces based on like their effectiveness.
That sounds like maybe a TikTok series.
Yeah, like the awards. Like
I hate to put you on TikTok, but maybe.
Yeah. But that one, like for me, that one would be just like that's for me. That was just so powerful, that piece.
Yeah.
And
well, like even the behind the art stuff you've been doing recently. I know you've maybe done 2 or 3 episodes of it, but that you've released so far at least. But even just seeing the story behind the piece of art, or what the inspiration was, or the meaning, or whatever it may be, that is so cool, because then it makes me look at the piece through your lens. But then I have also another perspective of like, oh, I didn't even think about it like that.
Yeah, we need to actually do that, Brandon. 100%. Yeah. Oh,
well, did you hear what he said about ranking the pieces?
Yeah, I think we have to do that. Just
sorry, he'll listen to the podcast.
Just because I think I've developed a new level of explaining my process and the meaning behind some of the stuff. Because like I was someone who was a stupid student, so I have had to work my ass off to understand the intellectual side of entrepreneurship and business and even psychology. Like I didn't know any of this shit when I was a kid or like growing up. I knew nothing, and I thought couldn't have ever told you I would have been into it. But now that I've been studying it like relentlessly, I can now go back to some of the stuff that I couldn't really articulate back then and tell you kind of like, okay, like it makes sense in here, but it was really hard to then spew it out because like I'm not, I had to really work hard to get my vocabulary up, how I verbally explain something to you.
Right.
So I think now I'm at a stage where I can go back and kind of do those things where before, I couldn't. My way of doing that was creating it.
Right.
And not saying it.
Now, what was the thing that's helped you become better at saying it? Was it like
movies?
Okay.
100%. And studying film, because they're literally doing that. Film is also a metaphor. It's the same thing I do when I create iconic pieces. It's just 2D and not this grand story, right? Mm-hmm. It's storytelling, but in one frame. So movies was a way for me in studying like literally film and critics and having them explain certain scenes and why this happened, the framing, composition, dialogue. And I'm learning all these things. I'm like, where I know in my head, like all this existed, but I had no way to explain it. So it's like, that's like literally like when anyone's reading a book and they're sitting there learning stuff, like me watching film and then having them talk about film and then me rewatching movies. That's like, I can feel myself getting smarter, like so exponentially quicker.
Yeah.
Where I've never verbally said it out loud just now. Like that, I can literally, when I'm watching movies, feel myself getting smarter because I'm learning. I can understand
the gears are finally turning.
Yeah, it's like I understand everything now, but I never did because like I have them the way to explain it properly. So I understand now, okay, this is what was in my brain that I was thinking about, but I could never really articulate it.
Right. And like for your sake, explaining it, obviously in the form of the film, but do you think that's something that you'll do even more now is like when you release a trailer or something like that, going back through and physically talking about it and be like, this is what we were wanting to do. It was hot as shit out there. And when we were digging up the relics box or whatever, like, the certain process behind the development of some of these various scenes.
Yeah. It's more thematically connecting some of these. It's more Easter eggs. I've been obsessed with Easter eggs, and the usage of connecting them to the themes and not just having them in for no reason. Right. Which I did in the beginning.
Very intentional of you.
Yeah, but originally it was just for fandom purposes. Like, hey, we talk about this a lot in the VC.
Yeah, like the Pop-Tarts, fun, real fun
but
stuff.
But I'm going like 10 levels deeper, and it's like I won't put in something unless I can tie it back to something that supports the theme. So I'm really taking pride in that aspect of the storytelling, and I'm noticing that you don't need a big budget. Like literally, all our trailers have cost us like under $150. But if you start layering in these deeper intellectual kind of properties of cinema, you don't have to, spend a bunch of money on like these spectacles, which is a thing I've been obsessed with after watching Nope.
I haven't seen that yet.
But I've been you learn a lot about filmmaking with spending no money because you start to study the underlying ways storytelling functions.
You have to use of what you're actually given, not just pay extra money to
I was trying to
bridge the
even
gap.
then I'm like trying to think about how, like, because a lot of the things I'm saying.
Would you say it's like the aspect of like closure? Is that?
No. It's kind of just like I've found new weapons I've never had, and I'm using them.
That's cool.
That's really what it feels like. It feels like I've had something in me, and I didn't know how to use it, or I didn't know I had. Right. And now that I know how to do it, I'm like, oh my God, like I can now use this into my art form, which felt like was just 2D art. Like, so like I'm realizing things as I'm going as an artist that I've never had, that I think a lot of artists should probably, like if you're an artist and you have one style of art, that's why I've never liked one or artists who have one style, because I feel like they're scared to, if you're really an artist, you can do so much with creativity that if you are a real artist, you can use it everywhere and anywhere. You can apply it to a lot of different things. And if you're just using it for your like one little art form and you only use that color and you only use this medium and only distribute it this way, like it's questionable because it's like, why?
Because you're comfortable doing it probably.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, I think that creativity is, you can get so, as I've said, like I've realized creativity can apply to much different things if you actually have it. And it's been exciting to like figure that out.
Right.
Because you don't know.
Totally.
Like truly, I didn't think I had a lot of the things I had. That's another reason why I want people to kind of do the things that they're passionate about and they like. Because like you'll realize the potential you have in certain areas that are just tucked away.
Right.
And if you don't if you don't actually, pursue those things, you could die not knowing
that you had
how much
the potential.
how much stuff you had to offer to this world.
Wow. That rocks. Phenomenal. How many podcasts have you done?
None.
You need to do more podcasts.
I know. I'm
preparing you for.
Well, here's the thing. Like, this is genuine. I'm saying I stay in on weekends and I study film, and I've been doing that for about 6 months or longer than that. I've been watching movies, but intentionally studying film in the way I am in terms of like every time I watch a movie now, I'll research about it, how they talk about it, and how the movie was made, and it's specific movies that I want to emulate.
Yeah.
I'm not fucking looking up, Paul Bart Mall Cop and how they made that movie. You know what I mean? So, I have so much respect for the art form of movie making because I know how deep it is in the creative process and how hard or how difficult it is.
Yeah, I think it's just cool that like you had your typical medium of 2D. You're now transferring all the stuff you've learned from there into something that you're just more driven towards now at this point.
And here's the reason, because like Web 2 was all about marketing and conversion. Like I spend $1, I need to get at least $1 back. It is not that way anymore, or at least in Web 3. Maybe it will adapt back to that and like correct itself.
Yeah.
But right now it's just like, dude, like how creative can you be? And like there's no intention besides that. There's no like, how creative could you be to acquire a customer? No. It's just in general, like flex how hard you can, how you can emotionally move someone through art. And that's it.
And
because I just hope it happens. So it's like there's no KPI really of it. And like
the KPI,
even saying KPI in art is like is ironic.
It is very ironic. I also think the reason why it is that way, and I don't think a lot of people understand this as much yet, is just the value of one person. Like when for example, like your small community, the small community that is Sneaks, Relics, or whatever you've done so far, is no more than 1,000 people.
Oh yeah, it's small.
No more than 1,000 people.
It feels like a little community.
You have currently 890,000 Instagram followers or whatever.
Well, that doesn't mean anything.
Those aren't
clearly
exactly, but
and
look at the difference between what like something that was looked highly upon, millions of followers, thousands of followers, tons of likes. That was Web 2. That's why, but now Web 3, it's like I'm just excited to flex my creative muscles and have 600 people watch the video.
And that's what I'm feeling right now. And it's funny you bring that up at this time of my life because like I've been obsessing over this movie Nope just because of the themes in it. But like it's one thing people don't know about the movie Nope is Jordan Peele actually wrote the film back, I think, in the early pandemic when he was actually worried about the state of cinema, and also how everyone was just creating for the spectacle. Everything was creating for the KPI. Like, I want to be rich and famous. I want to have followers. I want to get likes. Like, that was the reason why people were creating content. And it feels like that's how I was also creating content, whether it was creating iconic pieces or whatever. Mm-hmm. That was what I was creating. My intent for creation was. It was exposure and likes and followers. But, like, he wanted to create a movie that, one, showed that narrative, but also kind of show the irony and the satire of it. And I feel like Web3 is like my Jordan Peele movie, because I don't have to cater to that KPI of acquiring customers. I can just do any of the themes that I'm truly passionate about without trying to get something out of it. And I'm trying to give it. I'm trying to put things into it that are going to make you think, that are going to hopefully change your life in a positive way.
Yeah, that's amazing. Like, I think that is like I have a lot of friends, like when I tweeted that I was talking to you today, and they were shooting me texts like, ask them about the different, like the challenge to Web3. Like, is it going to be basically the same thing or as Web2 with with the surrounding aspects of mental health, and how that's, really the KPI aspect of it has really hurt a lot of people. How is that going to be different in Web3? And I think a lot of the basis of those questions that I was getting was just like lack of understanding almost. And that's,
but it's also super risky right now. Like not having
that's a different total mental battle.
Like not having the KPIs to even look for and know if you're doing it right and if it's going to support the lifestyle you want. Like all these things, there's so many what ifs. So
I will argue
there's a beautiful thing going on where it's like, yes, there's creative freedom, but yes, it's also the most risky time.
Yeah. And that also goes back kind of to the conversation you said earlier, where it's like, yeah, it feels really weird to just like only be creating, not really doing anything that has like a monetary feedback. But it's also nice, in my opinion, that you have an entire company built around Web2 that, is providing somewhat of a backbone, and it's great. And you don't have to necessarily worry about the performance metric of like making money off of sneaks of nature and all that good stuff, because you already have something that you've already built and optimized more or less.
Yeah. It's just different. Like
way different.
It's I'm in it right now. So I can't tell you, I can't reflect on it quite yet.
No.
But what I do know is it's made me a lot happier in a sense that, how can I put this? It's maybe happening in a different way, but it's also so much scarier. It's so much scarier because, like I said, but I'm trying to think about it right now. It's like with Ikonick, I know I can wake up and make an ad, and if I really think creatively about an ad that can do well, it's gonna, give us back return, and I can then pay my team, and we could do more things and more revenue. And it's like, but like the same way does not apply what I'm doing now. So it's more fun, but it's also when you're done and you turn that switch off, because like it is an on and off switch, where it's like I can be in my fictional world of creating, but once I turn that off switch, I'm like, okay, how much money do we make today? You know what I mean? And then totally. It's like, well, we're not selling anything yet, and it's month 6, so it's like there's a difference there where it's like once you turn it off, it gets really scary, and then when you turn it on again, it's like, okay, yeah, we can play around and do all that. But
I think it just kind of goes with saying that, like, there's pluses and minuses to each thing that you're doing. Yeah. So you can't, you're always going to have a problem. My favorite thing, like innovation story, I think Elon Musk is the one who I got this from, but basically he's like, yeah, we had horses, and then people were complaining about the e-mobility of horses, and then we made cars, and everyone thought the cars was the solution to the problem, and then they had their problem with pollution, and now we're solving that with electric cars, but that doesn't mean that everything's solved. There's still another problem to solve. So it's just like, he's like, you got to be obsessed with solving the problem. And you got to be okay with knowing that there is going to be problems. And that constant cycle of, it goes back kind of to the curiosity thing, where it's like, as long as you're curious and you're continuing that loop, you're going to basically continuously solving problems with creating new ones.
I hate how people like shit on these billionaires who like literally are
Elon Musk is having a tough time, which is so lame.
If you think about it, like they're spending all their own money and they're risking everything, their whole life to innovate like our species.
Yeah.
Like that's pretty heavy shit.
That's pretty heavy shit.
And they're not doing it on our taxpayer and our tax dollars.
They're doing it
It's called
from
private.
profits. Yeah.
They're privately funding. So it's a little. Whenever people give them shit, I'm like, do you want to fund the future? Like,
no shit. No kidding.
So yeah, it's like even what they do. Like, I can't even imagine that kind of shit. I'm over here just trying to.
You're over here in Jeff's world, creating your own little.
Yeah, it's also weird.
Creating your movie, man.
It's weird because like I always loved the like Elon Musk in the world who are actually creating something that solve a lot of problems and innovate for future. And I've wanted to kind of do that, but it's like, how do you do that as an artist? And I think I'm finding this is kind of my way.
Yeah.
Of like what Jim Carrey said, like he provides that that escapism.
Right.
And I'm kind of, I'm trying to do it the best way I can.
Totally. So kind of going back to like the pluses and the minuses, or like the various things you have when you go into, a new medium or a new thing that you're trying. What is your average quality? So like this is something that you do well. It's sometimes bad at others, but it's truly like something that you care about, or you're trying to work on every day.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say your average quality is?
What do you mean? Reframe that. I'm trying to understand.
So this basically how I frame it is it's something that you care about and that you're focusing on every day.
Okay.
You can get better at it no matter how good you get at it. What is that thing? It could be like an action. It could be a mindset. It could be something, like a talent that you have. It could be anything.
You're asking a specific thing
in you.
That what?
That you're average at.
Oh, that I'm like average at?
Yeah.
I mean, everything. I'm average at pretty much. I'm literally dead average at everything besides, I think, creativity. Dead fucking average.
Nice.
Like I'm the most average dude when it comes to everything besides literally this one thing, which
you're I'm the best creator ever.
I'm fine with that. I can be average. That's why but
I'm be really average at ironing shirts.
If I'm not doing this, that's another funny thing. Like I don't really care about other stuff as much. Like when you go out to, let's say, golf with your buddies, and like that one guy just gets super competitive and pissed, and like I just like don't, because like I know that's not where my energy is.
Yeah.
So I'm just like I can be average at this. It's fine. I can be average at everything.
Right.
But like I picked this one thing, and I'm gonna fucking destroy it. I will cut your fucking head off at this one thing, and everything else you can have. Like I can be the average, below average dude of a million different things, but
not for being a creator.
Yeah, like
would you say you're an average creator in the grand scheme of everything?
No, absolutely not.
Absolutely not. Okay. Yeah. I love that answer. Most of the time people will say, like, I've had other artists or various people on the podcast, and they
think they're average at the thing that
they say doing? Like, say we have like an art, like a singer or something. Plenty of times have people said, "Oh yeah, I'm average at singing because I'm not."
I feel like singers say that because they're very self-conscious. I feel like all singers are self-conscious about their voice and the way they do it. Like,
yeah,
but
I love the confidence of what you're saying.
But I think because I'm a true believer of aesthetic intelligence, and that you can't. There's something in that like I'm a firm believer that art isn't subjective. Mm. Like you can point any art piece out, anything in the world, and I can fucking write an essay on why or not it's aesthetically pleasing, or like if you frame a question around art and creativity and subjectivity, I can sway you that it's not, through all the tactics I have in my brain, whether it's like, you know what I mean? Like I have that confidence. I just think it's something I was given that I do very well.
Yeah, that's interesting. Because it seems like you've realized that, but you've known that for quite some time, and
forever.
Right.
I told you, but I couldn't articulate what it was.
Right. Until you tried a new medium.
Out now. Well, no, I'm now that I'm maturing and I'm growing. I'm really growing every day. Like I'm intentionally studying something in art that I'm just exploring and flexing. I'm really like if there's a gym, like I'm in the gym, like every hour I'm up. Like if I was a weightlifter, like that's really how much time I'm spending on growing the craft of, you know, creativity and art. Like I'm every fucking hour, every day, even weekends, I'm doing it. And that's the best thing about it, is like you don't get fatigued, because it just fuels your curiosity and inspiration. Like I can't do that if I was a bodybuilder or if I was playing basketball. Like,
right.
You know,
you have all capabilities to basically go all gas, no brakes.
Exactly. Yeah, but there's something else, because if something inspires me, that's just another step I've unlocked, and then I can go to the next step. And next, like to me, inspiration doesn't stop. Mm-hmm. Like you can't cap. Like, oh, like I've had this much inspiration, and that's it. I'm never gonna find any more. Like,
yeah,
and that's also a part of my systems of creating. I know I know that things that get me going. So if I'm in a creative rut, I know exactly what to do, and I know exactly what levers to pull in my brain. I've studied. That's what that was what Bob's origin journal was about. Was that there's really no excuse to creative blocks if you actually know yourself and how you. If you're really introspective by yourself, you shouldn't have a problem with that, because you can think about the things that excite you. Like literally, think about the emotions of excitement. Right. And what does that do? That inspire, like, so if you really just go down to human behavior, you can really figure out a lot about yourself to then fuel the types of things you want to accomplish. But that takes,
and that gets you through basically anything.
Creatively, I can get through anything based on the things I know that, I know the moments, the aha in my brain, and my literally the DNA that is like, wow, like, because there's some days where I'm like, I don't want to do shit. I don't want to create anything. I don't even want to think about it.
Right.
And let's say I have to get in that mindset. I know the exact type of movies I need to watch. I know the exact type of soundtracks, soundtracks I need to get into to get my head back in, like, and then I'm like back.
Right.
So
that's cool. The name of the podcast that we run is the Backpocket podcast, and Backpocket is
in your back pocket.
In your back pocket. So like
in your bag.
Your bag, dude. And when you have a creative rut, when you have a situation where the energy isn't moving forward, the introspective for you is what it sounds like. It's like the introspective awareness and the things that you know that will get you going, and you can deploy those things at any time.
And I think that's why I figured out that if you really go back to yourself as a kid and start to dissect the things that made you happy and excite you, you'll start to extract those types of discoveries in yourself.
Yeah.
Like you'll be like, wow, that really made me happy when I was a kid. I've suppressed that for maybe I haven't done it in 10 years. Like try it, go back and see that, even just to feel that feeling. And that's what I want to do, is to get you back to feel that feeling. And maybe like discover that, maybe on the weekends I wanted to start this hobby. Maybe I want to get into the thing I forgot about when I was a kid that made me happy. Right. And then who knows where that's going to lead you. But like, to me, it's about discovering that emotion, because when we die, we can't take anything with us. The only thing we can take with us is our memories and the emotion we felt throughout our life. And I'm trying to give the best parts of our life experience back, or even inspire new experiences that you don't have yet. But I think finding them first and referencing them is the best way to then, move forward and live a fulfilling life.
Yeah, because then the goals become sharing those types of things, or living those types of things even more, creating things around the.
Yeah, and it's just fascinating how different we all are too. It's like so that could be like playing piano for someone.
Yeah,
it could be anything. But that's why it's so fascinating. It's like everyone's gonna have something different, and I feel like everyone just wants to do the same thing now.
Yeah, well, it's funny. Like for me, I'm working construction and as an engineer, and I keep telling Christina how much more excited, like I'm starting to get excited to go to work now, which I never had felt before, which I'm annoyed about, because I'm like, I'm in construction.
But what was the unlock?
Well, the unlock is that I'm just being a total goofball with everybody there, and I'm doing a good job. So now obviously there's problems every day, but I just laugh at the problems, and I usually just make fun of the people, or the main boss. He's a retired Marine guy, and he runs the project, and he has no self-awareness, and he has so many internal problems, and I pick on him. I purposely say stuff to make him mad, like an older brother would. And he's 57 years old or something like that.
That's a comedian,
and it's the best. It's so much fun. Yeah, I have so much fun doing it.
This story you're telling me is actually the exact story Theo Vaughn just told on Rogan.
Oh, I gotta watch
on the things he thinks about, and like that's a part of comedy. You can tell. So it's like to me, it's the comedy. That's what you're kind of unlocking ways to conceptually create, not stories, but you're recognizing things that you can kind of poke fun and laugh about. And he was telling that story too about one of your kids. He would find ways like that to then pick or notice things about people, and then I think his way of putting it was like planting that scene in the future, or like he'll plant stuff to then like
come back,
get that reaction, to get that comedy.
Yeah.
So
no, it's interesting too, because I'm like, the last stand-up set I did was, sometime last year, and it's not because I don't want to go and hustle the open mics and like tell jokes, write jokes, etc. It's just I'm like so far away from it, and I like it would take an arm and a leg for me to drive an hour. Like I drove an hour and a half here.
Why don't you do open mics at work?
I do. I was just about to tell you that. Every morning at 3:30 or every morning at 4 a.m. we do this thing called plant status, where you gather everybody in a room, and I'm the one who gets to go through it every single day. So I do an open mic every day. I get the fulfillment there. It's great. I've learned Spanish.
You're doing it already.
I've learned Spanish through the guys, and they tell me things in Spanish that mean really gnarly things that you shouldn't say out loud, but they tell me that it's just like, oh yeah, you're calling them little boys, but really I'm calling them little gay boys. And so like when I'm saying, buenos dias, mojitotitos, I'm thinking I'm just calling them good morning, my little boys. And then really I'm saying, good morning, you little gay boys. And everybody just dies laughing. I'm like, this is the coolest thing I've ever done. And like all the bosses are not Hispanic at all, so they have no idea what I'm saying ever. And so like it's just this big internal joke with the workers.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Good. Yeah, I mean,
that's why I like showing up to work.
It's also like finding those silver linings in life too. Like not saying, like, obviously you have to feed yourself and you need checks and stuff, but like finding the silver linings in everything we're doing. It doesn't mean quitting and doing only the thing that makes you happy. It's like, okay, you could do both. You could find ways to intertwine that, and then maybe you're doing that for a little bit and you realize, you know what, I want to go all in on that.
Right.
But I think it's all about, to me, it's not even taking a chance, but it's like just acting, like I said, acting on who you actually are, and when else are you going to do it? You're gonna,
right, exactly.
Your next life, are you going to take this turn off?
Yeah, you're going to just wait for the next time.
I'll wait. Like, no.
Yeah, I forget someone else said this the other day, where it was like, your time on Earth is a snap of a finger.
Well, yeah, if you
really zoom out,
it's probably less than that.
It's like, it's the intention of even trying to snap a finger. Exactly. But why would you waste the time? Like, what are you doing?
Well, we as humans, we lack perspective. It's probably our biggest weakness,
right?
As human beings.
Yeah.
But do you blame us?
No, not with everything thrown our way. How could you blame us?
Do you blame us? But like, I think if you really want, I mean, to me, that's the hardest thing to have a grasp on 24/7. Mm-hmm. And the best person on earth to do that is Gary Vee. So if you have trouble with that, he will remind you.
Yeah.
And I don't know how he does it. I mean, every day he regains the perspective of like the most powerful human being on earth. It's
yeah. Well, I think that's very much similar to like, you're flexing your muscles artistically, creatively in your way. I think that's what Gary's doing. Like he's constantly focusing on providing value in the current day. And he has a schedule and a bunch of various things, but like he's so tuned in to just doing that all the time.
Yeah, I'll say this till I die. He's the most impressive human being, I think, in the world. Just because, like, I know a hard perspective, an actual genuine. The way he does everything is so genuine, and it actually is like. like we all have we're so human, and like we can get angry, all these emotions, right? Humans have an infinite amount of emotions, and he just has this way of like giving you that perspective, like, dude, like, do you realize how grateful you are? It's like, how do you have that perspective 24/7? But he really does.
And he's so genuine too. And like, it was cool to see, obviously, in Minnesota, like your guys' moment that he had. And he's like, "You're so young."
So
Jeff.
I hate when he does that.
Jeff,
I hate when he, let's
just
talk
getting
about
started.
that. Let's talk about that. Like I hate that shit because like on the daily, like, I mean, I'm a human. We all get angry, mad, frustrated, like, and this guy just comes out of nowhere and like he can just bring you back to like the perspective of like nothing mad. Like it's all, it's just, I don't know how it's possible, but like whenever
you were actually mad in the video he posted, you're like, he's like, "You're just getting started," and then you said, "Dude, I've been doing this shit for 12 years or something." Like you said it in a way like, "Are you kidding me, dude? I've been doing this for a long time." It was funny.
Well, yeah, I don't know if I was mad. I was just like,
you weren't mad. It was just funny how you responded.
He gets in this like, and nothing you do is justified. Like your anger is not justified. Your happiness isn't justified. So it's like it's this weird way he has of just like looking at the world and like at a way where it's like it's super like unrelatable
from Gary's perspective.
Yeah, it's like, how are you like that at all times? And it's admirable. It's like, if that's why I'm like, I think he's the most impressive, because I think humans are not built that way. Like we aren't.
Yeah. So you want to hear a crazy story that might change? Like it doesn't challenge that necessarily, but it kind of shows a different side of Gary. So my sister lives in Manhattan. She has a really good friend who is in the Web3 community. Gary's got an office or two in New York. They went to some like party or something on like a random weekday. And my sister, by the way, has no idea who Gary Vee is. And Gary Vee ends up showing up. And everyone's like, my sister knows it's all of a sudden some famous person because she walks in the door and everyone's like, no way. And it's his space anyway. So like, so she has no idea who he is. And then she goes up to him or runs into him. She's like, "Hey, what's your name?" And he's like, "Larry." And he was like, and everyone is like giggling around. She's like, "Oh, so you're living like Larry?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "I actually got a tattoo of a lobster. It's like says living like Larry or whatever." And then they just like hit it off, had a good time. Like they had drinks up on top of the roof. Gary Vee takes my sister's picture on top of the roof or something, and like then she follows him or whatever, and like actually contextualize who this guy is, and now she's obsessed, obviously. But I'm like, it's so funny how like someone random, like that's such a pure moment of like
he's the real
someone, and he was like, he was the nicest guy who's so much fun to hang out with. Like
he wants to have the most memorable funeral in human history. That's his goal.
He does say that a lot,
but like that's really his fucking goal.
Yeah,
like he wants to get there. Like when he passes away, he wants it to be like the most important human has passed away.
Right.
And I truly believe that he will succeed in that goal.
Yeah, I agree. Do you think Gary gets to Mars? Do you think he leaves this earth?
No, because he loves humans.
Yeah,
he would know. I know. It's also like when you study Gary enough and spend enough time with him, you start to understand his answer. Like like how he'll answer anything, but no, he'll say no. Like he loves people. He would never want to. Yeah. There's no people on Mars.
Not yet, at least. What would you have a future on Mars? Like, what does your future on Mars look like?
There's nothing to do there yet.
That's true.
There's a movie theater, maybe, but yeah, there's nothing to do on Mars. I don't even know why I love exploration and all that. I don't want to go there. I want to learn more about Mars.
That's fair.
But I like it here.
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
Yeah.
It is.
People don't really understand space. It's literally like the devil. If the devil like existed, it's space. Humans do not belong in space.
Are you just shining a light on the fact that it's so much bigger than anything we can even articulate?
No, it's just it's not survivable.
It will be eventually. That's the whole point. That's the whole point of trying to get to Mars, because if you can get to Mars, then you can get to like a lot of other planets.
Yeah, but I'm saying we're not even supposed to get there.
Says who?
our DNA, the way we are biologically constructed.
Well,
but I do think we're going. I agree with you. I'm just being funny, but like, I mean, that's the whole part of obviously curiosity.
I get it. We won't. If we were just naked boys, we wouldn't last a second on Mars. But I'm saying we're naked boys with really good brains, and we've built this thing that allows us to experience it.
Of course.
Not saying that we should live there. That's crazy.
No, yeah. I mean, yeah. Man.
This is what podcasting is all about, dude.
But I do believe that we will eventually so one theme actually in the story we're bringing into it is consciousness and transcending consciousness, and how our minds are actually pretty separate from our bodies. And I think the next evolution of the human experience is disconnecting our consciousness from our bodies. I think that's like next. Well, I know it's next.
Are you thinking more in terms of like being able to...
I think that's a way for us to get there. Our bodies are the ones that are, limiting us from a lot of the things.
Traveling somewhere else.
Exactly.
That's interesting. Because there's something to be said about the physical experience of being in certain places. But then there's also something to be said about the mental spaces that you go.
Look at dreams. And this is my best way to describe it when I talk to this, and they're like, oh, you're fucking psycho.
You're losing me, Jeff.
But like, if you dream, if you're someone who dreams, like your body wasn't there, you didn't have that experience.
Mm-hmm. You conjured that, right?
So it's like our brains. We know nothing about our brains actually.
Right.
Like literally, anyone who thinks they do is bullshit. We know nothing about what's inside of our head in terms of the inner workings. I think we're so far away from true AI the way that we actually think about it. But I do think like the whole dreaming thing, when I actually started studying, it's like when you start to think about it that way, it's like you had this experience, but you weren't there. Your body wasn't there. Physically weren't there. I think that there's some truth to that.
Yeah. Do you remember your dreams often?
Very much, yeah.
Do you have
I study, actually, I can, in some dreams, recently, like some I'll go on with droughts, and I try to study why, but like I can even know that I'm dreaming and then I'll like pinpoint things and be like, try and get more detail out of it.
Interesting.
So like if I'm like in a dream and I'm like looking at the floor, I'll be like, okay, what is that wood floor? Like, and I like try and capture.
This is after the fact, you're saying?
No, in it.
In the dream. Oh shit.
Yeah.
Whoa.
But I mean, that's a little bit more rare, but yeah,
What's your favorite dream?
Dude, my dreams, it's really scary when people I'm like, oh, like, do you dream? And they're like, oh, well, no, not really. But like, if I do, it's like all nightmares. I'm like, oh my God.
How tragic.
Like people who have just nightmare dreams, I'm like, oh, that's got to be so sad. But no, I dream. All my dreams are like adventure-based dreams.
That's good.
Like all adventure. Like
that's cool.
For some reason, I don't know what it is, but like I'm always doing something crazy, and I'm always like, well, maybe it's because I've been studying film for so long. Like now I'm like, I can like see frames and like the dreams and like how they're set up, and like I've been kind of like I said, I've been studying as much as I can when I'm dreaming, trying to stop myself and be, I'm dreaming. This is sick. Let me see what I can capture and remember while I'm in it.
Yeah. I think it'd be cool as an activity and this might even be a good practice for you, but to watch a movie with you, not for the thrill of the movie necessarily, but for the studying you've done into that movie. You know what I'm saying? Because I would love to hear you explaining the analysis of how they filmed.
Yeah, no, that's why it's so exciting, because like every frame you can talk about so many different things.
Right.
You can talk about color, composition,
it's not even really
framing,
watching the movie. I think it would probably take us a day to get through an hour long, like an hour and a half, but maybe. But I love trying to learn more about that because it's so cool. Like my mind, from a producer standpoint, I just love how certain things have been created. Like when I found out the AT-ATs on Star Wars were like mini stick figures with like these massive zoom cameras on like a play set, Did you know about that?
Well, I know. I mean, all those were basically done that way.
Yeah.
Like all the sets.
Incredible.
Such those those miniature sets.
Yeah. Like when I was obsessed with Star Wars, still am, but like when they walk through that of how they filmed that, like those scenes, it's the coolest thing.
Like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Film. That's all. Film is fascinating.
We gotta do that though. Is what I'm saying. I would love to. I think that would just be cool content to see you explaining it as we're watching something that would be relevant. Even maybe after the fact of the trailer of any of these different trailers.
Have to be. We would have to go on a specific director, because if we do it on the wrong movie, you're just gonna be like,
it could get ugly.
No, it's just like there's not much. It's just more spectacle. Like I said, it's spectacle. It's like they didn't really their intent for creating it. Like I couldn't even extract it as much, because it's like they weren't even thinking about it.
Sure.
They're just trying to, like I said, do a different. They're on a different KPI than. But like no, that's why I loved Nope. It's like I knew everything. It's like I knew everything that was put into that movie
before you watched it.
No. Like when you're watching, you're like, oh my, like you start to realize the difference in filmmaking when someone's making it specifically to make an intellectual piece of art, and then just to sell tickets. Right. Like I can, and like. That's why I love that movie. It's like I understand everything that was trying to be done there, and it's like when you watch like a blockbuster film, like let's just say like a Transformers movie, like you'll have it maybe in some instances there because like you have to, but like the level of depth there is in terms of the artistic integrity is just lost. It's just cluttered and it's meant to do things that. Like I said, it's a different KPI. It's like you're just trying to get them to keep being entertained and looking at something crazier and crazier every scene. Right.
Wow. Yeah, that's so interesting. The what was I just about to think? The what movie was
what we were talking about before that?
We're all over the place. I love it. I think. Holy shit, how did I forget what I was talking about? Regardless, what I would like to know from you, sir, is your well, we will wrap it up here pretty shortly, but I would like to ask you, what did you learn today so far? What time do you normally wake up, by the way?
6:15.
Okay. That's pretty. Is that a body alarm, or is that
literally 6:13, 14, 15? Those 3 minutes, it's one of those 3 minutes.
Wow.
That's when I wake up.
And are you clocking 8 hours most days, or like even if you go to bed later?
Yeah, I'll go to bed I'll go to bed at like 10. I go to bed early, and I wake up at 6. I don't even know, what is that? 8 hours?
That's 8. Yeah.
I get in my 8 hours.
Congrats.
I sleep. I mean, dude, when I'm up, I'm up.
You're ready to rock.
Yeah, like I don't fuck around when I'm up, so I can sleep. And sleep.
You're maximizing your day. It sounds like.
Yeah,
that's good. But anyways, today specifically, what did you learn so far?
Today, I learned a little bit in the middle of that podcast actually, but I'm trying to extract what it was.
I felt like your wheels really started turning when you started to explain the mediums that you jumped into with filmmaking and how you actually started to articulate shit.
Yeah, I'm starting to realize what I've been chasing. Yeah, it's like, because like you said, like it's hard, especially when you're doing the amount of, I call it like hyper creation, what I'm doing, where I don't have time to reflect. I don't take vacations. I don't really stop creating to then look at what I did. So it's just like on to the next.
Got it. So this was
I'm
more
starting to realize,
period.
It's like I'm putting myself where I was like a couple of years ago or 3 or 4 years ago, and the difference, what I was chasing then, like the KPI, I think I just figured out today, like the whole why, or like my intent for creating now versus a couple of years ago. Although same processes, drastically different. So like that I learned, like I just spoke out and started figuring it out in my head just
interesting
now.
How
so
it
a lot
works.
of that stuff, a lot of like, I guess it's reflecting in the past and then realizing what I've been doing, what I've been learning, and what I've been like. I've been like, all this is coming in the last couple of months of me realizing, and it's not even me trying to learn for the sake of monetary purposes. I'm just like genuinely really, really, really get inspiration from the complexity of creating art. And like what is the most complex way to do that? How can I understand it better? And realizing how much smarter you can get. Like literally one movie is like, I'm being like charged with juice. Like that's really what it feels like when I'm watching these movies with the intent I am. It's like, I'm being like, it's something I've never, like you couldn't even experience even if you're reading a book. I mean, maybe because I don't know, that's the other side.
Yeah.
But like,
you've never read a book.
I mean, so the only book I read was Harry Potter, the first Harry Potter, because we were forced to.
Wow.
But I don't even know if I finished it.
It's a hell of a series if you ever wanted to hop back in.
I've watched the films over and over again.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I love the Harry Potter films, man.
Right. Yeah, nothing beats those, man. But that's cool, man. I'm glad. I'm really thankful we talked, and I think it's cool that you were able to, obviously extract that from this podcast. But I think it's fun to listen to you talk and kind of track what you're saying and what you're thinking, because you can literally see the juice flowing, the gears turning, and your genuine intention to articulate. And I would challenge you to like keep going on other podcasts, or just having these types of formal types.
It's good taking those breaks, because like if I wasn't studying and like I said, like I would never, like you will never get me talking about something publicly without me knowing I have a deep understanding of it, like genuinely. So like this wouldn't work in any other format if I didn't take the time to put in that massive amount of studying. So it's like, yes, now I have something to say and I can really think about what I've learned and reflect on it. But like, if this was a different, like if we were talking about NBA, I'd just be like,
yeah,
I'm not comfortable
96
talking.
was a great year.
Yeah, but yeah, I wouldn't go in depth about it. I'm just like, yeah, like, because just like, that's not what I'm really passionate about.
Yeah, it's not what you're working on. It's what you're constantly thinking about.
I'm someone who's like, if I'm working on something, I'm passionate about it, and I'm very eager to spill out what I'm learning, and I'm not even sure if you find it interesting or not, but like I do. So like, if that's what you want to hear, fine. But like, that's all I'm gonna give you. Right. Like, that's it. Like, that's all I got for you right now.
Totally. Okay. Final question: who do you challenge me to get on the show next? Any person, could be someone you know, somebody you don't know. Who you think?
I gotta say Theo Von.
Dude, Theo Von.
Just because I watched him yesterday in Rogan. You guys both have an incredible mullet. And dude, he's so fucking funny.
He's the man. He's actually the first ever comedian I met. I met him at the same day I watched Gary Vee for the first time. Theo Von did a set of comedy after Theo Von, and that's where I met Brandon.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and I met Theo Von. I met Theo Von that same day.
So I challenge you for that, because I think that's a good target for you right now.
Yeah, no,
I think it fits.
Yeah, I'm a man of assimilation. So like there was a point in time where I was listening just nothing but Theo Von, and I started talking like Theo Von. Like I started getting a twang.
Oh, he's got that. Oh, really?
Yeah, dude.
He's got such a particular style.
It's amazing. You can't replicate Theo Von in any way. You can write exactly what Theo Von says on paper.
Yeah, he's a special guy. Him and like my two favorite right now are Tim Dillon and Theo, but like. Tim Dillon's he's like an acquired taste where it's like you can only hear that guy screaming and ranting for so long, but like Theo's got this like back porch, late night you can talk to that person for hours, and like anything they say is like funny and interesting, and like
genuine dude.
Oh yeah.
Well, thank you, man. Challenge accepted.
There we go.
I'll absolutely happen. But thanks for coming on, man. This was awesome. Yeah. How long do you think we've been talking for? Do you know?
I'm going to say hour and 45 minutes.
Hour and 34 minutes.
I was going to say 35.
Not
I would have been right on. I'm also good at
you have a good sense of time. I have a weird
talent for that, like very specific things. It's like voice. So I can like name the actor and actress in any commercial, which is a weird skill. Like I just know the voices and I know time. I don't know what that's called, but it's like awareness of something.
I think it's just a sick flex, but
no, it's weirder than that.
Okay. Well,
flexing is not. This is a very weird talent.
Well, anyways, that's great, man.
Thank you for that.
Keep it up. Well, I'm sure we'll do this again. All right. Thanks, brother. Cheers.
Seeing double. Tell the whole squad out the back door, man, I think it's time to huddle. Yeah.